Hi, today we're going to read Bear Shadow by Frank Ash. One day, Bear went down to the pond with his fishing pole and a big can of worms. While he was putting a worm on his hook, he looked down and saw a big fish. "I'm going to catch that fish," thought Bear to himself. But when Bear stood up to throw his line in the water, his shadow scared the big fish away. "Go away, Shadow," cried Bear. But Bear's shadow would not go away. "Okay," said Bear. "If you don't want to go on your own, then I'll just have to get rid of you." And he put down his fishing pole and began to run. He ran around the pond. When he got to the other side, he kept on running. He ran through a field of flowers, jumped over the brook, and hid behind a tree. "Good," thought Bear. "Now Shadow can't find me." Now if you look closely, here's the tree, here's Bear, and here's the tree's shadow. I wonder, is Bear really hiding from his shadow? Or maybe the shadow is hiding from Bear? Bear was wrong. When he stepped out from behind the tree, the first thing he saw was his shadow. Nearby was a cliff. Bear walked over to the cliff and looked up. "I'll climb so high Shadow won't be able to follow me," thought Bear. Bear climbed higher and higher until at last he pulled himself up to the top. Huffing and puffing, he smiled with pride. Then he looked down and saw Shadow. Now Bear was very annoyed, so he went home and got a hammer and some nails to nail his shadow to the ground. He hammered and hammered and hammered, but no matter how many nails he hammered, he couldn't nail his shadow down. "If I can't nail him down," thought Bear, "maybe I can bury him." So he got his shovel and dug a hole. When the hole was deep and wide, he let his shadow fall in the hole. Then Bear filled in the hole with dirt. When he was finished, it was almost noon. The sun was high in the sky and Shadow was nowhere to be seen. "At last," sighed Bear. "No more Shadow." But now Bear was very tired. So he went inside and took a little nap. While he slept, the time passed and the sun once again cast shadows everywhere. When Bear got up and opened his door, he saw his shadow on the floor. "Not you again," exclaimed Bear, and he slammed the door, hoping to lock Shadow inside. But Shadow was too quick. Sighed Bear. "How about this? If you let me catch a fish, I'll let you catch one too. Nod your head like this if it's a deal." When Bear nodded his head, Shadow nodded too. So Bear went back to the pond and once again threw his line into the water. By this time, the sun was in a different part of the sky, which made it easy for Shadow to keep his part of the deal. And when Bear caught that big fish, Shadow caught one too. So the beginning of this story, Bear wanted to catch a fish, and we can go back through the story to help us remember. So I can look at the pictures and I can read some of the words, or I can have somebody help me read the words to remind me what happened in the beginning. In the beginning of this story, Bear wanted to catch a fish, but he thought that his shadow had scared away the fish. So throughout the middle of the story, Bear tried different ways to get rid of or hide from his shadow. He ended up taking a nap, and at the end of the story, Bear decided to make a deal with the shadow that if the shadow could let Bear catch a fish, then Bear would let Shadow catch a fish. And they did. So Bear had some fun with his shadow. One way that we can use this story to help us learn about going green is by making shadow puppets. So if we are in our house, we want to make sure that any room that we're not using, we have the lights turned off, and any appliances that don't need to stay plugged in, we can have a parent unplug those, like phone chargers or coffee pots, things like that. So when you're in your house and you're not in a room, turn off the lights in that room. A fun game to play with all the lights off is to get a flashlight and to make shadow puppets. And that's a great way to not only save energy, but to also have a new game to play with somebody and to spend some time. You could make a story or a play to act out with your siblings and your shadow puppets. Check out the link so that you can see some examples on how to move your hands to make different puppets. And thank you for listening to Bear Shadow.